welcome back to the channel. And I hope you read that title correctly, because the title says the problem with passing the mantle of Captain America, not the problem with Sam being Captain America. I want to make that clear. This applies to other characters in the MCU and Marvel Comics, be it Bucky, John Walker, or various other characters who have taken up the mantle, like Frank Castle. This applies to them as well, not just Sam Wilson and not just MCU Captain America. I want to make that clear from the start, because I have no problem with the character Sam Wilson. He is wonderfully played by Anthony Mackie as the Falcon and everything like that. And I liked Sam Wilson as a character in the comic books pre-MCU, but damn, Anthony Mackie as that character, he is so much charisma on screen. I really liked him after that. So yeah, this kind of applies to the MCU and also Captain America comics post Marvel Comics Civil War. Because the problem with it in universe is that everyone now knows Steve Rogers is Captain America. His actions, his idealism, that's not ingrained in the symbol of Captain America. That's ingrained in who Steve Rogers is as a person. So when a character or somebody says we need Captain America or the world needs Captain America, what they're really saying is the world needs Steve Rogers, because everyone knows that's who Captain America is. Now, don't get me wrong. I know why Marvel is keen on replacing some of their legacy characters with younger versions or newer characters like Chris Evans, RDJ, even Jeremy Renner. They're all getting older and more expensive, but the IPs that they represent are still lucrative. So you just can't. It's just hard to slide a new character in there or replace, the existing character with a new actor, especially like with the case of Chris Evans as Cap. Passing the mantle might even be a worse idea than just recasting Steve Rogers. Because now we have, we've got Sam. He's an established character in the MCU. And one who I'd say probably universally liked. I've never heard anybody say anything negative about Sam Wilson. I think a lot of that has to do with Anthony Mackie playing him. I think if you've got a lesser actor playing Sam Wilson, they might be like, hey, he's okay, and just whatever. But I would say most people like Sam Wilson. So they've taken this now. He was a side character, and they've slid him into that leading role as Captain America in hopes of, carrying the film. But sadly, in universe and for ticket sales with this particular hero, as in Captain America, it doesn't work, because Captain America isn't a symbol in this universe. Steve Rogers is the symbol. You can give someone the shield, you can give someone the uniform, and they're just going to look like a pretender at that point, because again, with Steve being, a known person in this universe, it's all that idealism, all those heroics, those are attributed to Steve Rogers. They're not attributed to Captain America. So it's just kind of one of those things where I think ticket sales are going to be hurt by this, out of universe in the real world. And I have to wonder if they just did like a Falcon movie. Like if we didn't get the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series, which was kind of slapdash put together because of COVID. If we didn't get that and we were just getting like a Falcon movie and maybe a Falcon Winter Soldier movie, and it was the buddy comedy that I was hoping Falcon and Winter Soldier, this show, was going to be, I honestly think this would have more of a lead up to it. We do have Red Hulk and things like that coming to it, but I don't hear too much excitement from anybody. Like I'm just not seeing anybody super excited about Captain America Brave New World as they might be if we were getting like a Falcon and Winter Soldier buddy cop kind of movie. That's just me. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what the buzz I've been noticing like around the internet and everything like that. So talking about passing the mantle, let's hop over to Marvel's chief competitor, DC Comics. Like take Batman for an example. Batman is a symbol that can be passed down. That's because no one, for the most part, a couple people knows who Batman is. He isn't a man. In Gotham, he's treated like an urban legend or a boogeyman amongst the criminals. In this case, when Bruce has a broken back, or he's been killed or sent back in time, another person could step in and fill that role as Batman, because it's a symbol. That person could be Jean Paul Valley, like during Nightfall. It could be Dick Grayson who steps into it. All you gotta do is just beat up a bunch of criminals and be, brutal about it. And you get my point, basically. So staying with DC Comics also for a second, you've got Superman. DC kind of tried to do the same thing with the death of Superman, and then the follow-up Reign of the Superman. And after Superman's death at the hands of Doomsday, 4 different Supermen, Superboy, Steel, I don't remember what the other 2 were called, Last Son of Krypton, and the robot one, Cyborg Superman, I can't remember his name. They tried to take up for the fallen Kal-El, and it didn't work in the comics because some people were inspired by it, but again, Superman, they didn't know that Superman was Clark Kent, but they could see his face. They knew who Superman was. Superman was a person, not some costume vigilante, not some symbol, but Superman was a person. And much like Steve Rogers with Captain America in the MCU, his idealism, his heroics are attributed to that Superman. No one can just put on that suit, put on that S, and be Superman. They would just seem like pretenders, and that's kind of how it a lot of the public took it in the comic books, and that's how a lot of the readers did, because I don't know if it was DC's plan all along to bring back Kal-El, Clark Kent, as soon as they did, but they did pivot and brought him back with the Return of Superman. He wasn't really dead, he was just mortally injured and needed the sunsuit to bring him back, and everything like that. So, that was kind of almost DC, 30 years ago now? God, 30 years ago. I remember reading that comic book when it first came out. 30 years ago, kind of doing this kind of experiments. What if we kind of replaced Superman? It was kind of successful with Batman because, again, Batman's that urban legend, that myth, but Superman, not the same kind of symbol. So it's one of those things when you create a superhero that you want to become a symbol, that symbol has to be that hero, not the man. When everyone knows who Captain America is, you can't just slide a new person in there into that suit because that new person isn't Steve Rogers. All the good that Cap did and all that he stood for, everyone knows that Steve Rogers did those things. So having Sam, Bucky, or John trying to step in, people will reject it because they know it's not Steve. But it's like I said about Batman being the exact opposite of that. Batman is Batman and not Bruce Wayne. And since he operates in the shadows and outside the law, the man behind the mask can step down, die, and someone can just replace him, and no one would know. Not even the one who thought he killed him, because again, that symbol has become a myth because they don't know who he is. So you might thought you have killed him, but no, you didn't kill him because he's not of this world, kind of thing like that. So that's where the symbol versus the man kind of comes in, where Captain America is a man and that man is Steve Rogers. Batman is a symbol, and that symbol is Batman, not Bruce Wayne, kind of thing like that. So in the end, Captain America Brave New World is already starting from behind the 8 ball because Sam isn't Steve and Anthony Mackie isn't Chris Evans. Now, if we were getting a Falcon movie, I think it might, like I said earlier, it would probably do better than this ticket-wise, just because they'd be expanding on, Sam's character, and we'd be learning more about him, and not Sam wondering if he was good enough to fill Steve's shoes, which I felt they kind of lingered too long on that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, kind of thing like that. It's just one of those things if Sam, was just still the Falcon and he still operated as the Falcon, we wouldn't have to worry about all that because he'd still be the same person that he is. He just wouldn't have this extra baggage of trying to be Steve Rogers, which again, no one in the MCU could fulfill that. Nobody. After all, we did get that big scene in Endgame where, Steve picks up Mjolnir. So, or not picks up, but, calls Mjolnir to him, and he's able to wield it because he's worthy. Again, that just exemplifies who Steve Rogers is, not who Captain America is. And so that's kind of one of those things. And I kind of circle back to also Anthony Mackie's not Chris Evans, and that's not a shot at Anthony Mackie or anything like that. It's Marvel really nailed the casting of the big 3 Avengers to start off. I remember when there was just rumors of an Iron Man movie, I was just like, Robert Downey Jr. should play Tony Stark. He is basically a real life Tony Stark as far as personality goes. Just doesn't have the $1 billion or the Iron Man suit, but personality wise, he is Tony Stark. And then Chris Hemsworth was an unknown, but I can't think of a better person to play Thor. Even my fantasy casting of Triple H from the WWE when they announced the Thor movie, even like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dolph Lundgren in their prime. Just can't even think of anybody who could encapsulate that role the way Chris Hemsworth has made it his own. And then, Chris Evans, probably a lot of us had seen Chris Evans prior to Captain America. We'd seen him in, the Fantastic Four movies, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I'm sure, well, he did other things, and I'm sure a lot of people knew him from that. But again, much like Chris Hemsworth, just kind of made that role his own, and it's just like he fit that Steve Rogers. Like, that was like perfect casting, and we didn't even know it at the time. So again, like having Anthony Mackie, who, again, like I said, brilliant as Sam Wilson, try to not only slide into the Captain America role, but Sam Wilson's not just replacing Steve Rogers, but Anthony Mackie is replacing Chris Evans, who was so perfectly cast as Captain America. Super, super hard. Sebastian Stan, if they went the Winter Soldier as Captain America route, it would be the same thing. Sebastian Stan is, again, another like perfect casting as the Winter Soldier, but replacing Chris Evans, that's a hard sell right there. That's really hard. And I mean, the same can be said for the Ironheart movie, or not. Is it a movie or a show? Whatever Ironheart is, I thought it was a Disney Plus show, but then I've heard some people say it's a movie. The young actress playing Riri Wilson, not only does her character have to try to replace Tony Stark, but she's got to try to replace Robert Downey Jr., and that's just not happening either. So the movie does kind of start behind the eight ball and things like that, because you're replacing Steve Rogers, but you're also replacing Chris Evans. And again, I think Marvel would have been more behooved to push Sam Wilson as Falcon, and we got a Falcon movie and things like that, and just not replace Cap, kind of thing like that. Like, or maybe U.S. Agent replaces John Walker replaces Cap, and then it fails like it did in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then just like maybe Sam keeps the shield, doesn't call himself Captain America, but he uses the shield as Falcon. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Question is, will I see this movie? Probably not opening weekend. I'll probably go to like a matinee a week after it comes out. I rarely go see movies opening weekend. I have to like really, really want to see a movie and be afraid of spoilers to see a movie opening weekend anymore, and that just does not happen anymore. So I'll check it out. Like I said, I like Anthony Mackie, and I fucking love Harrison Ford. I'll see just about anything Harrison Ford's in, except for the new Indiana Jones. I've been told it will break my heart, being the diehard Indiana Jones fan I am. But yeah, so that's just kind of my thoughts on just replacing Captain America in general, and has nothing to do with Sam Wilson doing it or Anthony Mackie, playing Sam Wilson, replacing Captain America. I just think because, especially in the MCU, Captain America is so tied to Steve Rogers, and everything Captain America stands for is so tied to Steve Rogers. I just don't think it works as a transition of a passing of a symbol, because at this point in the MCU, Captain America is not a symbol. Captain America is Steve Rogers. So it's just one of those like kind of like catch-22s Marvel kind of wrote themselves into by mistake, where it's kind of like, oh, we'll pass this mantle down. We'll treat it like Batman and Robin and Nightwing and all these other things, but it's not the same because you didn't do secret identities. Like one day, like technically speaking, they could pass the Spider-Man mantle down. Like Peter Parker could pass it down 2 miles basically, and for the most part, if they're separate, they're not together like in the video games and Into the Spider-Verse, you could be like, oh, Spider-Man, he just changed his suit, kind of thing like that, because again, the public doesn't really see him. They see Parker's pictures and things like that. So Spider-Man's more of a symbol because you don't know who Spider-Man is, kind of thing like that. So, I mean, technically, the MCU could do that with Spider-Man, because I think he's the only one with a secret identity at this point. So the importance of secret identities in movies is that then you can pass that mantle down and the public is none the wiser. The accolades are attributed to the costume and not to a single person. But yeah, that's just kind of my thought of that. If you made it this far, thanks for hanging out. Let me know your thoughts on it. Do you think, the passing of Captain America works, or do you think it doesn't work? Are you going to go see the movie when it opens on Valentine's Day in about a week? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to think. And as always, keep it positive. We like to have a positive space here. We don't do the negative stuff over here at the Nintendo Dad. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.